Hello, I'm Jeremy, and so I'm here to give you more about immigration because I'm not here to tell anyone that I'm right or wrong with this stuff. What I'm trying to do is to show that there's a problem and that chances are we should not be having these problems that we're just going around in circles. If you don't like or agree with what I'm talking about, I don't have a problem with it. I want you, though, especially if you're going to give like a thumbs down, explain why. Because this is what I want from my website. I want both sides, and I want to have everything laid out so we can see it. I don't want the straw man. The straw man is where you put up your position against either their weakest position or you've changed it up so then it's something completely different. You want to do a steel man argument instead of a straw man, where you want to bring it against the strongest points on the other side. And it happens all the time. And so we're going to do this right now with immigration. But before we get started, go ahead and give me a thumbs up and subscribe so we can help with the YouTube algorithm so we can get more people involved with this. There's going to come a point in time where I'm going to have enough money that I can hire other people and they're going to do content. It's going to be the same thing. It's like, well, here's an issue and we have more information on it. Why are we still wasting our time going around in circles, and bring all of it so we can deal with it? I've got it figured out, and it's just a matter of time. So the sooner we can do this, the better. And so in the link or the description below, I've got links to what I'm referencing. And so one of them is, I forget his name. He's from Britain. I watched him a little bit, but I kept a little link to this video that he did because he's got some things that they're dealing with. So, for example, about a minute or two into the video, he's talking about in 2016, the Bank of England did a study to show that there was a 10% rise of immigration, and that will lead to a 2% wage reduction. It's like, well, yes, because I've explained this. I tried to put this in real simple layman's terms. And so you have all these companies and all these workers, and whenever you have it so that you have a whole bunch of workers, we'll put workers over here, and we have just a few job openings. Say we have 50 people looking for a job and there's 10 job openings over here. What happens? Oh, well, we'll pay you $40 to come work for us, or set whatever price. They're going to just do nothing but drive it down because there's a surplus. This has to do with supply and demand. There's a very small supply and a large demand. And so they fight to bring it down because they're fighting for the job. It's like, no, I'll do it for 20. I need the job. I can live off of that. It's like, I can do 15. I can do 7. I just need a job. I'm in a really bad place. I'm an illegal immigrant. And so you can take advantage of an illegal immigrant because whenever it's illegal, you can't go to the authorities for help. You can't go to the police. And so there was a story of a woman who was at a meat factory plant that lived close to where I live here in Texas. Her and her family came over from Mexico. They got a job. They came over legally. They did what they were supposed to. They knew how to speak English, all this stuff. And worked there. Got like $14 an hour. Then they stopped taking care of the plant. People started getting injured and they'd run out of their sick leave. And then they were fired or that was the end of their employment. I don't know if they were fired or if that just mean that they kind of quit because they weren't working. I don't know exactly, but they lost their job. That's the point. They lost their job. And then these people started coming on in, and it was like John Smith, Mary Sue, and it's like, no, because they're Guatemalan. They're not from Mexico. They're from Guatemala. They're illegal, but that's what their paperwork says. And it's because they got it all illegally. So they started to get replaced by these illegal immigrants. And it was all money under the table. It was, well, they would pay to the welfare services to get food stamps and HUD and all this stuff because they're not making a lot of money. And so if you're slipping them like $500 or $1,000 under the table directly to them, that's a lot of money for those people. And that's whenever you see people who are working there who are living above their means, a lot of times you might want to think to yourself, well, what's really going on here? And so even there at the plant where they were working at, they weren't even getting paid minimum wage. It said it on the books, but they weren't paying them because what were they going to do? Oh, hey, I want to make a complaint. You know, I'm going to take this to the authorities that I'm not getting paid minimum wage. Oh, really? And who are you? Oh, you're Hector from Guatemala. That's your real name? So you came over illegally. You have illegal paperwork. And so, yeah, we're going to deport you back. That's what happens every single time that you make a law anywhere. So this is something that drug dealers do too, is that they go to war with each other. And if you get all shut up, it doesn't matter. You can't call the police because what are you going to say? Hey, they stole my drugs and my drug money. It's like, no, you're going to be arrested too. So they don't ever do it. You can't turn for help. And so, yeah, you have that's why it just keeps going down. I forget which way I had it. That they keep driving it down, and it doesn't stop because these illegal immigrants who come on over, it's even more and more and more. And then later in the video, he talks about that after Britain left Brexit, that the construction salaries went up 9%. And it's because they stopped all this nonsense. They said, we're not just going to open it up just to open it up. And so I'm not going to go any further into that video because I'm not here to supply the answers. I'm here to show that there's a problem. And so if you see that there's more to the issue, man, put it down there in the comment sections below. It would be nice if somebody would do all this and have it up there at the top. If you could get thumbs up, and then whatever you see new, add to it. And man, the chances that I'm going to do another video on this later down the road is astronomically high, and that I'll address this stuff. And then it's really going to work well at the site, because this is kind of a mini little taste of what's going to happen, is that people are going to be able to present the issues, the questions, the concerns, up, button down, all this stuff. So then that way we can see the things that really matter. And then you're also going to have to actually present it. It's like, I don't give a damn about your feelings. You can take your feelings and just shove a pencil right up there. It's like, I do not care. You know, if you have something to back it up, great. Then we can do something about it. And I'll get into that a little bit more, because I kind of dabble with that too, believe it or not. Oh, me, man, whatever. It's like, yeah, me, absolutely. Go figure. So I have another video, and this is from Liberty Pen, and I think they're the ones who actually have like the rights to Milton Friedman's work or whatever, but they do a really good job of it if you want to learn more about Milton Friedman. And so I have a link in the description below for part 1 on his views with illegal immigration. And so something that you have to keep in mind is that the older that you get, you have to understand that the laws have changed since then. And so he talks about, on part 1, he's talking about the problems with illegal immigration with the welfare state and how they come on into any country, and it's a system and it's a setup where it's not being kind. That is not it. It is a system of enabling. In other words, they come over, they don't have to work, they're getting rewarded for nothing, or they get a minimum amount, and it's like, why? We want production, and he talks about this, that before 1914, that they had, you could just come into the country, but there was no welfare state. And so it was, if you really came to the country, it was because you felt like that you could do better. And so you brought your resources, your skills, and your talents, and so then you were providing something. It was, yep, you were getting something, and that was the freedom to do this in America. In exchange, you provided resources and skills and talents to the country and for everyone else. So it would help balance everything out. But whenever you created the welfare state, then that balance was broken. And it's like, oh, now you don't have to have anything worth a damn. And it's like, if they're coming over too, it's like, well, why? What is going on that's so wrong? I will give a very specific personal example of these. I was in the Army. I was a 19th Delta Cavalry Scout, and I was deployed to Bosnia. And whenever I was over there, yeah, you met the locals. I mean, I was there for a year. And none of them wanted to leave. Not a one of them. Who wants that? How about you try that? You go to one of these places where they've got all of this horrible violence and killing going on and a civil war, and see how well you like it. You're not going to like it. Imagine then if it was happening here where you live, wherever it is that you may be, that people were roaming the streets and they were claiming that they were for some militant side and they're just going around and killing people. You wouldn't like it, and you would not, you definitely would not want to move because of violence and hatred and killings and rape and murder and all theft and all that other stuff. That's not why you would want it. If you wanted to move somewhere, you want it to be of your own volition, under your own terms, whenever you're ready, not because you're being forced to by somebody else. You think all those people wanted to leave their friends and family and their home behind? All their memories and everything that they built up? Of course not. That's not the issue. So what is it? It's politics. It's, we're going to overgeneralize this stuff. We're not going to get specifically into the problem, because it's the same thing with these illegal immigrants. So one of the problems that whenever you're watching someone like Milton Friedman, you know, he's obviously been dead for a long time. You can just take a look at the video clip and look at him and everyone else around there to see that this is back in like the 60s. It's back a ways. And he's already an old man then. And one of the things that he's not addressing, because he couldn't, is that there was no war on drugs. That crap didn't come around until that was like Nancy Reagan crap, you know, with her war on drugs. It's like, what the hell are you talking about, man? It's like that's just dumb. You know, I remember back then, you know, comedians were making fun of her. It was like, what are you doing? You're not the president. You know what? You want to go out there and you want to talk about policies and doing something? Fine, prove it. Go do the work. Run for office for whatever it is, and go do it. Bill Burr did the same thing with Obama and Michelle, because Michelle, oh, so stupid. Oh, Bill just tore it apart. She did that stupid hashtag campaign with those girls in Africa, bring back our girls. And Bill was like, well, what are you doing telling the American people that? Do you not see that man across the dinner room table who's eating with you? He's the president of the United States. That's Obama. What are you talking about? Tell him to send some special forces guys on over there. What are you telling the rest of us to do? What am I supposed to do? What are you supposed to do? It was ridiculous. It's like she's not in office. She's nothing. And he gives a comparison about football or whatever, and it's hilarious. I'm not going to put a link in that description, but just watch Bill Burr's stuff. It's just, yeah, it's funny watching comedians. I hope you have a good sense of humor. Life is too short to not have some humor and to laugh at things. And it also, it'll open your eyes and kind of see things from the other side of things. And it's like, yeah, because at the time, whenever I saw all that stuff that she was doing with that hashtag stuff, I thought a little bit about it. You know, it did kind of dawn on me, but the way that he put it was like, yeah, that seems really stupid. But back then I wasn't into politics and all this stuff like I am today. And so he doesn't address this. Milton Friedman does not address the problems that you have with drug cartels and drug trafficking and human trafficking and all this stuff, because it just wasn't an issue back then. So how could he address something that wasn't going on? So just keep that in mind whenever you're listening to him. But, you know, it's the big problem. It's like if you made it legal, it's like they wouldn't qualify for all of this stuff. And he goes into it more, and there's several more parts to it. So I only have part one of all that. So go ahead and watch it and have a content. And he also talks about how times have changed, and also how policies changed, because before 1914, whenever there was no welfare, nobody cared. And they looked at the first immigrants that were coming over, or, well, I guess not the first, but the first, second, third, and immigration up to that point as a good thing. It's like, yes, we could use more people, and we've got all the stuff that we can do. And there's also another problem of that things are becoming more complicated and sophisticated than ever before. It's like there's not a lot of low-skilled jobs anymore. So, for example, it's that whenever you go to Walmart and you have those automated checkout counters that you can go to. I just went today, and I said in a previous video that there was one on each side, but it's no, there's two. So there's 2, 4, 6, 8, and then 9, 10. So there's 20 on each side. And you can have those things going 24/7, and that will replace 4 workers in a 7-week span. And so each one can replace 4 workers. So if you have 20 of them, times 4 is like 80. So you're replacing 80 people, but that doesn't include the people that you no longer have to hire to help with human resources and with accounting. So you don't have to worry about 80 people's 401ks, medical, vision, dental, managing their vacation time, sick leave, managing their schedules, and dealing with their children and their spouses and getting sick and all that stuff. So the HR department and accounting and budgeting and all that stuff, you have to have less people because you're dealing with less of all of it. And so whenever, and that's happening with everything. because we all know this is, so it's like, for example, this cell phone, whenever I was a little kid, it's like, no, there was no such thing as a cell phone. We didn't know what they were. Whenever Star Trek first came out with Captain Kirk back in the day, it was like, that was high-tech science fiction stuff. It's like, how can Captain Kirk talk to the ship like that? And today it's like, it's called a cell phone, dude. What are you talking about? It's like, oh, okay. And it's only getting things more complicated. There's a thing called Moore's Law, and that is every 18 months, technology doubles roughly. And I think it's kind of slowing down, but it's not slowing down because it's not capable of doing it. It's because there aren't enough people who are kind of keeping up with it. And it is kind of staying up to, because technology kind of fills a lot of the gap anyways. And so then with the last one that I have, to show the complexity of all this stuff, I have a talk of Jordan Peterson where he's at some university over in England, and he's talking to these kids over there, these students, and there's this one just pernicious, stupid little, bite my tongue here, stands up and gives this big, elongated speech about absolutely nothing. It's just narrow resolution nonsense, says a bunch of platitudes, and it's like, it's meaningless. He shreds it apart. And he's like, you have to understand that these things are complicated, and that if you really want to solve the issue, you have to get to the heart of the problem. And it's like, no, the problem with like things like immigration and world hunger and poverty and all this stuff, it's other things like the nutrition and the development of children. The video that I'm showing with Jordan Peterson too, it is a small little snippet of it. Even the next like 3 or 4 minutes, he goes into it more. He goes into it more and just wrecks this kid. And I can't remember, but he talks about how later in the video, what are you going to do? Are you going to give up your cell phones so you can help with this stuff? Because we are, and another thing is that because we are burning coal, that means that there are more trees in the world than there have been in like the past 100 years. You know why? Because we're burning coal instead of trees. Everything has a trade-off. So what? Do you want to go back to burning trees? You think that's better than burning coal? It's like, what are you talking about? And watch it. Watch, especially that last one with Jordan Peterson, and listen to how complicated it is, because he's someone who knows, because he was actually on the UN Council and he's looked into this stuff. I don't know. You don't know. And it's like, why not? Part of it is because technology is not keeping up with all of this stuff. And I want to know. I'm tired of going around in a circle with this. And so if one of the answers is that, you know what, people need to be able to have proper food and nutrients for their children as they're growing up, then let's do that. Why is this stupid virtue signaling of, well, come over to the U.S.? It's like, well, why don't we help make these other places better so they don't have to do that in the first place? You think it's so fun? You think it's so easy? You do it. If you have something that's legitimate, it's like, do not be afraid. Put it down there in the comments section below and let's address it. That's fantastic. I don't have a problem with anybody telling me that I'm wrong, unless if you can't back it up. You need to have some kind of proof or evidence. And even if you're not sure, that's okay too. Say, I think this is it. I would like some elaboration. That's what this whole thing is going to be about. It's going to be about a community of people who are going to work together to solve these issues. Because as you listen to Jordan Peterson, that's well beyond my pay grade, and yours too. But it's not like it wasn't. He's not talking about it in a way that you can't understand it. If you can't understand that for some reason, man, you can get off my channel. I tell you what, he makes it extremely clear where whenever you've finished watching that, you should have a better understanding. And that should be it for all of you. And if for some reason, if you don't, then you've got some kind of ideological clout going on that's just clouding your mind. And it's like, no, something's just not. And I'm not going to waste my time with all that stuff. That's not what I'm here for. I want to know the truth. And if you would like to know the truth, and if you would like to hear better, deeper meanings for all this stuff, instead of having a bunch of platitudes thrown in your face, then this is it. So subscribe, give me a thumbs up, help me out with my Patreon or Subscribe Star so I can start living off this stuff and then hiring people and creating this website. Because I tell you what, we're going to make the world a better place, because nobody's done this and we need it. So thanks a lot for viewing. I appreciate it, and we'll see you again later. Bye.